Hello, and for those of you who are live, good evening. So, my name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks, and this is my co host here.
James Maynard, otherwise known as Sweet Baby James.
And this is Building the World We Want. And hopefully, you saw the topic, and that topic is let me see. The topic is when someone uses your power for their own purposes and what to do about it. Now, I'm talking about when somebody uses your power against your will. So, this is a really, really important topic for our times. And so, I want to give it some depth of discussion. First of all, I have to say that there are times when we don't want our power back. We want to give it away. I don't want to be responsible. I don't want to have to think about this. And I mean, there are times when that's reasonable. There are a lot of committees, about sewers and schools and whatever else, transportation. And you don't want to be on every one of them. Well, most of us don't. And we really don't have the bandwidth mentally to study and understand everything and to be able to use our power in an intelligent and appropriate way. But when you have a child, for example, you have a certain amount of power over what happens to that child, and you've got to be very conscientious about how you use that power. But it's your power. You don't want to hand it over to the school system and say, yeah, you discipline my child. You can beat the shit out of them. That's okay with me. Right. So, but I'm talking about when you don't want someone to use your power. And I want to give you some examples of what I'm talking about. So here's a bunch of them. And the one at the end is the most crucial for our times. Let's say people are creating AI images. And, they're make believe and they're pretending that it's you. And so there is a social media post by you saying something you don't agree with. That is something where they're using your power without your permission because you may have a reputation, you may have a following. Oh, Todd said, deep topic. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Todd. It is a deep topic. And I'm looking forward to talking about it too. So thank you so much. So um, you have some kind of influence. So if somebody puts out an AI of you speaking about something, saying something you don't believe in, they are using your power for their own purposes. And that's one example. Now, of course, you have a legal remedy because that is illegal. And you can probably sue them. Let's say somebody forges your signature on something, and all of a sudden your money disappears from your checking account because someone has forged your signature on a check. They are using your resources. They're using your checkbook in order to get the money to do whatever they want. And they are using your power and your money and your resources. So the first one was really more about your reputation. This is more about your resources. You can sue them. If somebody plagiarizes your ideas, then they are using your brains, the power of your intellect, and you can sue them, right, Jane?
Right, that's right.
Okay, so you have recourse in those kinds of things. And these things do happen, but we have some recourse. A second kind of thing, which is let's say you work for a company that takes that has suddenly changed to do bad things. Let's say you thought you were working for a company that was taking care of the earth, and then it turns out that it's they're polluting, and you say, I don't want to work for that company anymore. I don't want to put my energy, my life force into doing something that I don't approve of. And in that case, I have a remedy, which is to quit that job. Or if it's I'm not working for them, I say I'm not going to use that product anymore. I want to boycott that company. I don't like what they're doing. It's like when Amazon suddenly became very cozy with the administration, a lot of people started to boycott Amazon. So they're saying, okay, this is my power. My money is a form of power. What I do with my money is I'm using my financial power. Or if you're watching CBS and all of a sudden it gets taken over by aliens, and I don't mean undocumented workers, I mean people with an alien perspective, or and and they start lying, which they might be doing. Okay, boycott. You have a remedy, which is to say, I refuse to let you use my power, my viewership to get advertising. So I'm not going to watch you anymore. So that's boycotting. I'm going to go back to people who are working for companies they don't like. But before I get to that, let's say you have a representative in Congress and they don't represent you, either because they've changed or you never did like them. Well, don't vote for them again. Get them out of office. That's you're taking your power that they are using, they are claiming to represent you. They go into Congress and they vote on really important things, and they are really supposed to be representing you, your beliefs, and so on. So that's your power that they are wielding, and they may be as crooked as they come. They may be dealing themselves all kinds of money, or they may be going off on some uh, political ideological tangent that you don't agree with. Maybe when you voted for them, they looked a certain way and then they became different. So you have a recourse there. You can run against them. You have a recourse. Now, I was talking earlier about a company that starts producing products that you don't approve of, you can quit. Or a company which is extremely exploitative of the people who work for it, you can quit. Now, I'm not saying that these remedies are always easy. They aren't always easy. Sometimes it's scary to quit a job. Sometimes it's hard to boycott someone, some company. There was a phrase that was used in the day, like in these coal mining towns. It was just the company town. The company owned everything. They owned the grocery store. They owned the mine, and you really had very few choices there. And so they took your power, and they were not giving it back. So it took strikes and all kinds of actions to begin to get somewhere in taking your power back. But all of this, you see, is about recognizing that this is our power. Now, when our government takes our taxes, they are taking our power. The power to decide whether we're going to be investing in Medicaid or bombs, whether they're going to be investing in education or ballrooms. And what is the remedy? There isn't any, except there is. There isn't any in the sense that there is no recourse about paying your taxes. I really started thinking about this today because we are thinking about our quarterly taxes that are coming up, right? I don't want to give the federal government my hard earned money because I thoroughly disapprove of everything that they are doing. I totally disapprove of bombing other countries, of getting the world involved in a war that nobody wants, all for ego, all for what purpose, right? And I looked it up and I asked, Google the question, is there any way that I can withhold my taxes? I would be happy to give it to the ACLU instead or some nonprofit. No, there is no way. You will be prosecuted if you don't pay your taxes. You may be, you can say, I won't go to war. You become a conscientious objector and you don't go to war. But if you're living in the United States, you have to pay for that war, whether you want it or not. You can leave the country, but if you're here, you have to pay your taxes. And I keep looking for, now I can understand that. There were people probably who hated President Obama and said, I don't want to pay my taxes to a government run by a black man. Okay, you don't want it, too bad. You have to pay it. So you see, I get this. I don't want people picking and choosing. Oh yeah, the moment a more progressive person comes in, you're not going to pay your taxes anymore. Well, of course, we already know that the wealthy don't pay their taxes. They know how to get around paying their taxes, but the rest of us idiots have to pay our taxes whether we like it or not. So what can we do? Well, we can do something. We can do a lot withholding our power in a different way. If you are in the armed forces and you don't like what we're doing because it is illegal and unconstitutional, and the US Congress is refusing to exercise its power because the federal government has taken away the power of Congress, as long as Congress
The executive branch is taking
the
away.
executive branch is taking away the power of Congress, as long as Congress isn't willing to fight for it. Remember, I said in the beginning, the question is, do we want to take our power back? Evidently, there are people, of course, in the Congress who want to take their power back, but there are too many who don't. And so what do? Well, if you're in the armed forces, you say, I'm not going. It is not illegal to refuse an illegal order, and it is illegal to go to war without congressional approval. It is also illegal internationally to go around invading other people's countries or invading their oceans, their airspace, or their sea space. That is all illegal. Now, I'm not saying that people are going to en masse do this. It's going to take a while because this is already an unpopular war, but people are afraid of the consequences. And I said this before, it's not always easy to take back your power when the other side doesn't want you to. And so I understand that people might go, but they don't have to. They don't have to. The generals don't have to go along with this. We have ICE, we have Border Patrol that has been doing highly illegal, unconstitutional things. Can the people there take their power back? Not everybody in ICE wants to be a brute and step all over constitutional norms, arresting people without a warrant, a judicial warrant. throwing people in detention centers. I have to tell you this. You may not have heard this, but I saw a program today on the Bulwark, which is what do you call it? A social media platform. And they went to Minneapolis and they met with the people and they said they're still doing it. It looked like when Tom Holman was saying, "Oh, we're withdrawing," they said, "Oh, that for about 2 days, it looked like things were getting better." Then it's back, and now it's back in different ways. In fact, what they said was that ICE is now putting anti-ICE stickers on their vehicles.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're trying to look like the opposition. And they are dropping people off when they let them out of detention. They drop them off in the cold with no jackets, no cell phones. And so there have been people there every day to collect people who are being dropped off. And so now what they're doing is they're taking them and dropping them off in the woods so nobody knows that it's happening.
Oh my God.
Yeah. If you're in the ICE today or in Border Patrol, and you may have been there for 10 years, and you may have seniority or, a pension or whatever, but you can quit. You can take your power back and say, you are using my body, my brains, my training, my energy to do things that I do not approve of and are illegal. If you cannot do any of those things, think deeply about what you can do. Where can you withdraw and refuse to have your energy exploited for the purpose of what? Somebody's ego or someone's political career? I keep hearing about this over and over. Well, this isn't a politically popular thing, or if really, that's just too bad. If you have a conscience, you have to look past that. It costs us something. But I remember during the Vietnam War, people started deserting. And there were people a lot of young men went to Canada. They weren't drafting women at the time.
Right.
Right?
They avoided the draft by going to Canada.
That's right. So you say, no, hell no, we won't go. Last week I was talking about becoming an island of peace. And I still believe in that. I can see all of these things happening. And I want to stay as calm and thoughtful as possible, rather than just going out and screaming and yelling at everybody. But one of the jokes of the century is that the current administration is incredibly ignorant, stupid, ill-prepared, and destructive. You may not know this, although you may, that the Iranians don't necessarily love us, because in 1953, we overthrew a prime minister, Mossadegh. The CIA overthrew Mossadegh. And they started a horrible army, a special armed forces under the Shah, who we put into power, that tortured people, that killed people. You see, we act like all of this just started with the Ayatollah, but that's not true.
The Ayatollah was in reaction to the Shah regime.
Exactly. And a lot of that was against the U.S. And now we're going to go in and we think everybody's going to say, oh, yeah, we love you. We can't wait for you to come back. Somehow I don't think so. But our government is full of amateurs, people who know nothing and don't want to know anything, but who are, it reminds me of the kid who runs upstairs to play with the toy soldiers and wins every battle, and that's the way it feels to me. It may not feel that way to you, but that's the way it feels to me. So what do? We withdraw our energy. We withdraw our agreement in every way we can. And what we need to do is to get rid of the government because it is not getting any better. So I can't withhold my taxes unless I want to go to jail and owe them more money. I can vote. I can vote and I will, and nothing is going to stop me from voting. But we can also impeach a president. All it takes is the House of Representatives,
With a majority vote.
with a majority vote, impeaches the person. Or we could impeach the head of Homeland Security or whatever. Is it
And
with
also
that?
the Attorney General.
That's right. And anywhere else, the head of the FBI or any other. Oh, the head of the Department of War. Boy, they were serious when they changed it from the Department of Defense. All these people can be impeached, as can be the president. And once you've done that, they have to go to trial. And they're tried in the Senate. And the head of the Supreme Court, I believe, runs that trial. Think about it. What has to have happened is high crimes and misdemeanors, like bribery, like treason, like so on. And so perhaps flouting the Constitution, continually breaking the law, killing people might be considered a high crime and misdemeanor. By the way, in the meantime, people in NATO and in the European Union are talking about the possibility of a war with Russia, World War III, thanks to us. Because we have all these alliances. We don't know where it's going, but we're embroiling everybody. And we are definitely breaking international law. And maybe someday the International Court will be able to catch up with people.
I'd like to add to that. After these people have finished their terms out, which hopefully is no longer than two more years, the international crime courts have already indicated that the current administration has committed crimes against humanity, and they will be prosecuting that. So we can give our power to those investigations, the gathering of the evidence, and the prosecution for the wrongdoing.
That's right. Take pictures, like they said around ICE. Take pictures. Okay. So I am not recommending that we do this or that or the other thing. But what I am suggesting is that, number one, we realize this is our power they are wielding. What is happening in the United States, of course, is that we have the most developed military in the world. And this administration is using it for their own purposes, getting billions of dollars from the Gulf states that we're allying with against Iran.
As bribes.
As bribes, lining their pockets. And doing these things in our name, but it's not our will. And we know that that's true. I mean, the polling shows this is not what the American public wants. But people don't always remember. And this is the message that I want to leave you with. This is our power. These armed forces are our children, our mates, our parents, our cousins. These are us. These are us. And our intelligence, experience, and blood are being appropriated inappropriately by those who are wielding our power for ill. And I'll tell you another example of this that you may not have thought of, but maybe you have: tariffs. Every time the administration wants some country to back down, they threaten them with tariffs. Tariffs. That's us.
Those are taxes on us.
Those are we are paying for that. We are paying for all of it.
We didn't consent to that.
We did not. So I want each and every one of you to realize that our money, our talent, our brains, our bodies, our goodwill are being appropriated by people who do not represent us. And I thought there was no taxation without representation. And on that note, I hope that you start to really take this in. Okay, we have a comment from Brittany. As a small business owner, these tariffs have really hurt me. Yes, Brittany, they really have. And they've hurt every one of us. Is there anything else that anyone else would like to share?
I'd like to share something on a personal level.
Please do.
I learned to give my power away to authority figures. I learned that with my father because he insisted on being the dominant authority, and so I acquiesced and gave my power away. And then this carries over into give my power away to the doctor, for example. Whatever happened to client-centered medicine, if I'm relying on the doctor to tell me what's what, I don't even think of, oh, should I get a second opinion? Oh, should I say no? So this is another way in which many of us give our powers away. It just goes away. It goes all across the board. Every time you come across an authority figure, do you give your power away to that authority figure?
Right. Or why are you wearing your hair like that? Well, my husband likes it. Well, I have to say that I'm doing it. So, I used to keep it shorter. That was for me. But anyway, I have to like it too, or I wouldn't do it. But yeah, I totally agree with James. And the point that he's making is that this also seeps into our consciousness on a social and political level. What can you do? You can't fight City Hall. So Brittany said Treefort Children's Boutique has had to let brands go due to the tariffs. And then she went on to say, more accurately, they have refused to ship to the US until we get this figured out. Yeah. I mean, every day, my prices, it seems like prices are rising every day. And that's our money. So this is a great way of seeing it, but look at it on the broad scale. Why are we letting this happen if we are? Many of us are trying our darndest to find a way to take our power back, but many of us aren't. People who really disagree with what's going on are still letting it happen. And that brings us back to what James said. Either people are afraid or conditioned. That's why I really wanted to do the show tonight. This may be our conditioning, but it is not our reality. The king can do nothing that everybody around him doesn't let him do. He would just be one guy who's pulling his pants up just the way the rest of us do, and he could do nothing. He might have one little gun, but he can't kill us all. So with that, I would like to invite you to like and love the show on Facebook, to give it a thumbs up on YouTube, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to follow us on Facebook. And by the way, I've mentioned this before, I will not see your comments during the show if you are on my personal page, Beth Green. Only if you are on my public page, Facebook.com Granny Rocks On. So I'd like to also remind you that tomorrow night, James and I do Music for Our Times with the Kindred Spirits Band. And we are putting out music which we hope gives us all courage and comfort and all the good things and brings us some peace while we make the fight for the better world that we are building together. And Brittany said, love you both. That is so sweet. Thank you so
Brittany.
much. So come back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, Thursday, for Music for Our Times. Beautiful music, all improvised. Oh, sometimes there's a song coming. James is going to sing a song tomorrow night. And also come back next Wednesday night at 6:30 and share this program and tell people about this show, because we hope to help and support as many people as possible to feel powered. We love you.
Yes.
Thank you for the support that you give us
Glad to have you
all
with us.
the time. And now, the music to take us out.